if you're one of those people who are just starting to watch Star Wars now because of The Mandalorian, you're not alone, even though I would have assumed you were. What's going on, everyone? Comic Jon here, and you are joining us for the inaugural episode. CJ, thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you, brother, for having me.
You, for some reason, were like, I'm going to start watching The Mandalorian. And you're in your 30s, right? Like, you grew up in the 80s and 90s, so it's hard to avoid Star Wars unless you didn't grow up here like you, right?
Well, it's funny you say that. You cannot avoid Star Wars. Doesn't matter where you are. I'm from Nicaragua, third world country, and I grew up with friends of mine being fans of Star Wars. I had a friend of mine who had the Lego set for the Millennium Falcon. Because of him, yeah, he did. His whole room was full of toys that he never opened that he collected for Star Wars. And in fact, I should ask him if he still have it. But so I grew up with that around me.
Why didn't you get into it? What were you like into instead? Because for me, it was just kind of like I was so young. It's like the first memory of a movie that I have.
Star Wars did not come to us through the movie theaters. Nicaragua was in a war. So everything that I know, the Star Wars, when it starts coming to Nicaragua, was through DVDs, VHS, actually. That was the first time I saw a movie that was in the United States, was through VHS. And so Nicaraguan fans were behind the commotion that was in the 70s and the 80s because we were in the middle of war. So it was only wealthy kids that got to experience Star Wars first. They were the ones that came to America, like my friend, and will buy the toys, will go to Disney World, things like that. For me, all that was really just a fantasy, unreachable fantasy. Then the 2000s came and more videos became available, and the first 3 episodes came out. And I realized I was not into it. I really wasn't. Actually, that friend
Did you watch them, or were you just like, from what I've heard, yeah, it's not for me?
I tried to watch them. I'm pretty sure I fell asleep in my friend's couch. I was not into it.
Wow.
I just really didn't care for the story. Now, I knew about the stories. I know one of the biggest plot twists in history in From Empire Strikes Back, but never really cared for it. So I've never, until you asked me to, watch episode 4 and episode 5, which, by the way, that's how I know them. When you said New Hope and Empire Strikes Back, I'm like, wait, is that number 4 or 5? I had to go look it up and say, which number is it? Because for me, I was introduced to them when they were episodes. So, which is
even more insane because they didn't add they didn't like become strict with the numbering until like later. Because I know Star Wars Episode 4 was what the original one was called. Then they came out with Empire Strikes Back, and they called it Episode 5. Then they went back and called Star Wars A New Hope, Star Wars Empire Strikes Back, with the number and so on. But anyway, so what I did was, Cornelio was like, yo, I just started watching Mandalorian, and I've never really seen Star Wars before. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. I can't believe that any male especially would make it this far, and that's not a gay joke. It's like any man, any boy watching Luke Skywalker and Han Solo, it's hard to avoid. So I'm like, dude, you gotta come on the show and do the machete order. So you start with the original trilogy, but you end after Empire, and you go back and watch episode 2 and 3. So you go 4, 5, 2, 3. You skip 1 because it's just the worst movie. I mean, every Star Wars fan is pretty much united that the dialogue in Phantom Menace could be the worst dialogue in, I don't know, any movie ever. Not just a Star Wars movie. It's so bad. And then you go and you watch Force Awakens. And I gotta watch Rogue One simply for the last 5 minutes of the movie, because it's probably the best 5 minutes to any Star Wars anything. I'm
a fan of good cinema. I'm a fan of good movies. I'm also a bandwagon sometimes when it comes to this thing. I love it. I like Rogue One, and I never have to see any other Star Wars movie, and I love Rogue One.
Right, yeah, it was meant to like stand by itself, and it does give you that last scene with Darth Vader just wrecking shop, because you never see him move like that ever in the suit. But it would have really been cool to go Rogue One, A New Hope, Empire. Rogue One literally butts right into the last minute of Rogue One overlaps with A New Hope. Like there's parts of those movies that are happening at the same time.
Yes,
Pretty amazing.
and that got me excited at A New Hope when I saw that. When I was like, oh wait, I remember this from Rogue One. You're right.
Here's what happens. You see those guys in those white helmets right
Mhm.
before you see them in Rogue One, and everyone's like, wait a minute, holy shit, that's from A New Hope. And then all the lights go out and that saber lights up, and it's like my boner lit up just like that saber. So what I asked Cornelio to do was to go ahead, watch New Hope start to finish, and then watch Empire, and then come on here and let's talk about it. Write down some questions, as you're watching it, and we'll kind of dig into them here on the show.
Yes.
So the crazy thing is, because you sent me all your questions for New Hope. You gave me like a little brief, and it's funny because I started reading them and then stopped because I was like, oh my gosh, like my answers already are like taking too much time to think about for me to like go through and read all the other questions. But then today you go, I don't think A New Hope was a good movie. Why don't you like it?
It's just a bad movie. The editing, it was edited horribly. It was done. I can do a better job using iMovie on my iPhone, and a much better job in the audio. I
Now you do realize that the technology used in Star Wars revolutionized special effects for the last 30 years.
Yes,
So at the
I
time,
like
it was
history.
like
Yes.
Avatar.
I like history, but this is the thing. That's with the excitement I went to see it. I went to see, you know what? I find myself enjoying this, and just to give you a little more context, I always thought that you guys were super nerds, and back in the day when nerds were not cool. Now nerds are cool. Now it's a great thing. So I think I'm the outsider now. Oh, so, but I went with a lot of excitement. The Mandalorian is a great story. Um, and we can get into that later. Um, Rogue One was a great story. I am actually a fan of the last trilogy, so I'm looking forward to the Rise of Skywalker. I still have a lot of questions, and I'm glad you're making me watch these movies because I think it explains a lot to it. Also, Mandalorian, I have so many questions. Oh my goodness, I know that I'm probably not even appreciating as much as you do because the context behind it. But when
Right.
you look at Star Wars, and I do know New Hope, because of what he wanted to do with New Hope and the company he started, the special effects company that he had to start on the side, a lot of other great things came from that. For example, Pixar was part of that. And, the things that we get to enjoy now were thanks to George Lucas, and I appreciate his genius. Then why was the movie edited so horribly? The shots, the angles, the story is great. I
Oh,
think it's a
okay.
great
So
story.
you're saying like the way that the clips were put together, not the special effects, not the story,
Exactly.
just the way
No,
that
no,
it
no,
looked.
exactly. So I know that the effects back then, a little explosion, great. Um,
It's a big
uh,
deal.
it's a big deal. I used to use firecrackers to explode my little military guys when I was little. So I get it. But then the basics of a movie, from the editing, the sounding, the um, it was just bad. I'm sorry, guys. I think that he left a lot. For example, you go into the bar scene, which is such a famous scene, and all I knew about Star Wars, New Hope, and Inspire Strikes Back was from uh, snippets from different things. If I was watching a documentary about something, they will have, Darth Vader talking, and everybody talks so great about the bar scene. It's one of the greatest, scenes in history because it introduces you to so many
The
characters.
cantina.
Oh,
That's what
yeah,
everyone. That's what that's like
the
the official
cantina.
name, the cantina.
Okay, the cantina scene, and it was the dialogue.
Dude.
The guy telling Luke that he doesn't like him. I'm like, great, this is gonna be great dialogue, and it's cut short. And then I think that Obi-Wan cuts the guy's arm off. You don't get to see that because you see him just doing this. I'm sorry, man. It was just not a good movie. In
Dude,
fact,
I need to stop you because you are hitting on something that is like blowing my mind. The guy who is literally the most famous mask maker in all of Hollywood, like every movie that has like somebody wearing like a crazy, like the Wolf Man or any sort of mask that you were wearing, this guy built it. And he worked on Star Wars, and he talks about that scene because George Lucas was like out of like shit and like out of money. So this guy was pulling like crappy masks from like the bottom of his like, collection and just throwing them on people. That's why it looks like the devil is in that cantina. If you look real close, the Satan is just sitting. I mean, that's not an alien, that's the devil.
That's the devil.
And dude, this is the crazy part. The band and that bar are not even in the same city. They filmed those things in 2 different locations and then chopped them together, and you fucking caught that. Like, you noticed the clunkiness.
Yes, I think you can tell the shooting between Han Solo and the other guy too. And then I found out after looking into it that it was
1,000 times.
It was edited. Yeah, like every special edition has a different edit of it.
Han shot first.
That's so Han shot exactly. They were trying to make sure the Han did not shoot first because I guess it's politically correct for him not to shoot first. I don't know. I don't care.
Yeah, if you look at the years that they edited it back and forth to like Han shooting first, Han not shooting first, it's like society just being like, annoying and changing its mind. Yeah. I mean, in my opinion, Han should have shot first. He lives, and he was just not going to die right there. He has no problem shooting first. It's ridiculous.
I'm calling it now. In the next edit, he's not going to shoot at all. Then in the next one, he's not going to have a gun. Okay, he's going to have a book. He throws a book at the guy's head. So
he bounces like a bouncy ball off his face.
Exactly. So that's the thing. I understand that the budget was one thing, and he had this grandiose thought of, okay.
Yeah, but you don't need to consider all that as a viewer. You don't need to, you don't. It just, what you see is what you get, and what you respond with is the same. So I'm just so impressed that you like noticed how because dude, going back and watching that specific scene, I'm like, was this made for TV and they edited out like the good violent parts? Like when they do that, like it's like a movie on ABC, all of a sudden it's like, well, wait, what just happened in the last 3 seconds? It feels like there's something missing.
I do appreciate the story of the movie. I think that it's an eternal story, I like to say, or I don't know if that's the correct term, or it's infinite, where you can grab that story and put in different settings in the future, and it will resonate with us. It will resonate with me. I'm a father of a daughter, and and I have a son as well, and there's conflict in the world, and it's really cool story, and I love the hero and the conflict of the characters.
I didn't even think about that, like shielding your own child from the craziness. Like, that's just like something that, oh God, I'm so lucky my kid's not like, really that old yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, right. It is great. It's pretty standard, good guy, the hero's tale. But let's get into your questions. Is R2-D2 receptive? Oh, excuse me. That's disgusting. Is R2-D2 receptive of the Force? What does that mean?
So I noticed that the Force, you are born with some form of having the Force in you or around you, right? And then you either are able to develop it because of your circumstances, or you don't. What I've noticed is that R2-D2, as much as as a droid, he is able, if you pay attention to his character, it's one of my favorite characters.
Me too.
I don't like C-3PO. I think C-3PO, it is as annoying as I don't like it. You can put a beep in that. I don't like him. I think he's annoying. I think he's a whiny. I think he is not a good friend at the end. I think
cyborg relations. Oh yeah, he is a dick to R2, but you gotta remember, I want to add this, and this will make you love R2 even more. George Lucas envisioned, when he was beeping, that people, in the Star Wars universe heard him as if he was like a foul-mouthed New Yorker.
Oh, really? That's hilarious.
So R2 is constantly cursing at C-3PO.
Oh, I would too. The guy C-3PO is just it, and I don't think, by the way, I don't think C-3PO is loyal to people. He switches fast between one to the other. He just met Luke, and he was loyal to Luke and already talking shit to R2-D2. But what I noticed is that R2-D2 took a lot of decisions on his own. There are other droids in the movie that don't react to the humans as he does. He actually reacts and interacts proactively to humans. Like, he doesn't just follow orders. He actually I noticed that he knows what's going on around him, in to a way of almost anticipating what the human needs. So in the context of what is there, and because of the Mandalorian, I noticed, right, that little baby Yoda is receptive of the Force, and he definitely has Force powers. And then I found out that the little monsters in that scene of Mandalorian, that the little like lizards, they're following the baby, is because they might be able to sense that he has the Force, or he's receptive to the Force, whatever.
Wow.
So then I wonder, is R2D2 receptive of the Force? Is that intuition he has not just a smart droid? Because we do have a smart droid on C-3PO who is not receptive to the Force, so he cannot sense what's around him. He only goes with facts. He only goes with what's literal, where R2D2 gets to actually sense what's happening.
Dude,
and if the Force controls everything, is in everything, then R2D2 senses it.
Because there's moments where the shit's going crazy, R2 and C-3PO is yelling at R2 or someone else, and no one's paying attention, and R2 will go off on his own and plug something that saves everyone. That's crazy. I've never even thought of it. He has like a mind of his own, not just like a mindless droid that just follows orders. He has his own mission.
R2D2 was sent by Princess Leia to find Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan nobody knew where he was. They just knew the planet, right? Not even Luke, who it is, we know, somebody with the Force, and somebody who has known Ben, like he called him, for a while. He doesn't know where he is. But R2D2 does. They found Obi-Wan because R2D2 had found Obi-Wan.
Because he just kept going,
was a coincidence.
And then he got zapped by the Jawas.
Exactly. So my theory was, in that moment, R2D2 is sensing Obi-Wan and he's following him.
Dude, I love that theory, and I can't believe I've never heard it. And I hope to God that in some way in the Rise of Skywalker they like allude to it, like all this time R2D2 hasn't just been a simple droid in the right place at the right time through 9 movies.
Mm-hmm. I think that, and so if anybody, people watching this understand, I'm very ignorant of this. So I'm basing it from a mind of this is the first time I see it, but I've seen other things about Star Wars. So I wonder, for example, I think it's in one of my questions, are all the monsters, or are monsters receptive of the Force as well? And I think I asked you that question.
Yeah, because you did. And I didn't know what you meant by monsters.
I meant monsters. So, for example, in the scenes of the garbage disposal, when Princess Leia, Chewbacca, Han Solo, and Luke are being squished, when the monster grabs Luke, brings him down. Now, this could be just bad movie editing and just
because that scene is pretty crappy at times.
It is crappy. The monster just lets him go.
Yeah.
I mean, a monster is eager to eat him. Just let him go. So I wonder, is that just a bad movie?
It let him go because the walls were about to start closing.
But not immediately. I thought of that.
Right, but the animal, like, how birds can sense before, like, it's about to rain. Like, that animal was like, oh, shit. Like, I can feel, like, gears turning before the walls are moving. I'm out of here.
Could be. So then the movie in Empire Strikes Back, whenever Luke is in a swamp with R2D2 is swallowed by an animal too, and the animal goes down into the water and then eventually just spits him out.
I think that's just because he's a droid.
There you go. So thank you. I mean, I just thought that maybe...
I don't think the monsters are, force sensitive. That's the term.
Force sensitive. Thank you.
But there are monsters that can like see through the like mind tricks and stuff like that that you'll meet later. Okay. But let's get to your next question here because this one's funny. C-3PO says, "Thank the maker," when he's being dipped into that oil bath. I think that's just his way of saying thank God. Oh, thank God.
I know, but I just found it weird because there's no God in Star Wars. So
yeah, right. Yeah, that's true.
There's
religions. There's religions like Jedi and Mandalorian, like they're religions, but I don't know if they worship any kind of God.
Well, in the Earth we have dozens of actually hundreds of religions. Imagine in the galaxy, there's might be millions.
Of course. Doesn't C-3PO know who Leia is? No, at the end of one of the prequels, they wipe his mind. Easy fix there.
Thank you. I was wondering that because he was involved from the beginning, from Phantom Menace. So I was wondering why is it that all of a sudden he doesn't know who she is.
Right,
Okay, thank you.
Anakin built him. That's why he doesn't know like anybody. But
Okay.
but C-3PO's memories are going to play a huge role in Rise of Skywalker. Apparently, that's the
Okay.
rumor that he's going to play like his most significant role in any of these movies because he's like you said, he's just been like the idiot that randomly like he barely ever helps them.
Yeah.
Um, it seems as Luke is not impressed by the Jedis or that his dad was one of them.
Yes. So I go with this movie with a lot of anticipation of the story, right? It's supposed to be a big deal to be a Jedi. And when Obi-Wan tells him about the Jedis or that he was a Jedi, Luke is really like he doesn't care. There's no reaction from him. I don't know if that's bad acting. There's no reaction. And then he finds out your dad was a Jedi. He's like, oh, really? My dad was a Jedi. Okay.
And he's
All
like,
right.
oh, and he fought with you in the Clone
Yeah,
Wars?
yeah, you guys were together. That's cool. I mean, I don't know anything about my dad. So that would be excited to know something about that. And then my dad is a Jedi. It's like you told me my dad was a Marine right now. I'll be like, damn, that was badass. That's awesome. My
Right,
dad
but
was a Jedi.
A
Or Navy
Marine
SEAL, even better. A Navy SEAL, right? No, my dad was a Navy SEAL.
is as
Oh,
close
that's
to say.
awesome. That's pretty badass.
No, and
Well,
it's true, but Navy SEALs and Marines exist. When Luke and Obi-Wan are having this conversation, Jedi's are like a myth. It's like, were they even really real? Like, or is that kind of just something that they tell us? You know,
but
like
Obi-Wan
it
is
was
right there.
yeah,
But he's right
right.
there.
He is, but like, I mean, Luke's taking all of this in for the very first time. It's like, how is he all of a sudden supposed to be like, oh my gosh, the Jedi's were real, and my dad was one? It's like he slowly comes to terms with that until like the end of the movie when
John,
he sees Obi-Wan and Vader in that, glass room.
if December 24th at 1 in the morning, you go get a glass of milk, and you as an adult, 30-something-year-old, see a
Blue
man
milk.
dressed as Santa Claus, you know, surrounded in gold stuff and flying up your chimney, you're like, shit, he was real all
Right.
along. You're gonna
But
shit your
Santa,
pants.
right, of course. But Santa's not my dad. It's not like that deep. It's just like, oh, okay, wow, he's real. It's not like, oh my God, like my dad was part of that thing. Like, holy shit. But that's why he agrees to go along with him. Remember, Luke was like this sheltered farm boy. He like knew nothing. And what he heard of the Jedi, he probably barely believed. And then Ben starts dumping it all on him in like, 20 minutes. He's not gonna be like jumping up and down. He's gonna be like almost like a Spider-Man. Like, do I now have like massive responsibility because I'm connected to all this? Um, but I thought you had no idea about Luke. No, that's not even the line. I just almost got the line wrong. Uh, but so you saw Empire. Okay, so you know that Darth Vader's Luke Skywalker's dad. I thought you were like, I thought you didn't know when you sent me this question. Like, Luke's not that impressed with his dad. I was like, oh my
Being a
gosh,
Jedi, no.
he doesn't know.
No.
I was like,
I knew that. Yeah.
don't go online until you watch Empire because it's so easy to just bump into that.
Exactly.
Uh,
No, that is
Get me
that
all
is
fucked.
difficult to do. Which is funny, that forever I grew up thinking until I watched the movie this time, I thought that he said, Luke, I am your father.
But he misquotes it.
It's not at all what he's, well, it's close to what he
Just,
says, but it's not
no,
that.
I am your father. He's
Yeah.
telling me you killed him. Um, did people forget about the Force and Jedi's? Yes, absolutely. And that's why I'm
Okay.
really excited for you to watch the next two movies, the episode 2 and 3, because now you find out what happened to it all. And
Okay.
you see the Jedi in their glory when they ruled the galaxy. And they were basically like the government of the world, of the galaxy. Samuel L. Jackson, Yoda,
Is
Obi-Wan.
that's the scene, right, where all the Jedi is like fighting one big thing and they all have lightsabers and it looks pretty cool.
It's one of them. But then in the third one, dude, the third one's so good. I love the third one. It's my
Okay.
favorite. It's my favorite of the prequels, and it might be like my fourth favorite of all of them. But anyway, so I don't want to spoil it for you, but yes.
Okay.
But the old man leading the rebels says, "May the force be with you." Yes, right. Obi-Wan was like the last guy. That's why Princess Leia says, "Thank you, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope." Or, "Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope."
Okay. So
And
so that's
that's
the
why
thing.
A New Hope is Luke.
So you tell me then, for example, we're dealing with a generation of people that think that the Jedi's are a myth, and then this what I'm referred to the old man was when he was telling the rebel fighters, the pilots, their mission. He does says, "May the force be with you." That was the first time I heard somebody say, "May the force be with you."
Yep.
So for me, it was like, okay, so this guy believes in the force, everybody else don't, right? That's the way that it was happening.
Yeah, it pretty much was. It's like the Roman Empire. Think of it that way. It's like at one time they were it, and now it's like we see these crumbled buildings, and it's like hard to even imagine like how they even like did anything. Like, was that all just kind of, is that like half made up tale and lesson learning time for us children, or did it really happen? And that was so cool in The Force Awakens. Han Solo going, it's all real. Like, I doubted it. I thought it was all bullshit, but no, I like lived
Okay.
through it. Um, Next question. Very gruesome movie, Uncle's dead, etc. Yeah, I don't remember that as a kid, and then I rewatched it recently, and to see their like scorched skeletons like crawling
Yes,
out of, I was like, whoa, how
that
did I
is
miss that?
very.
Super dark.
I know. I was surprised. I was like, I guess because I'm thinking this is Disney, but back then wasn't Disney, right?
Of
Um,
course. It
but
was
I
basically
was
an
going
indie.
with I was thinking, oh, the Star Wars movie are so happy and gully, and yes, there's action in it, but no. And then I see these two scorched bodies there, just freshly burned.
I mean,
That's what they
like,
used.
dude, heavy influence is samurai movies. So, I mean, violence is, I mean, there's a chopped off arm, and but yeah, that burned like they burned alive, and there's the proof. Like, I don't even need someone to come in here and like do testing. Like,
Yeah,
that's a brutal way to die. Um, but it just emphasizes the evil. Princess is a badass, dude. I recently have been like obsessed with watching old Carrie Fisher interviews
hmm
because, dude, there was like people talk about Princess Leia like and it almost sounds like they're overrating her, or just remembering her in a positive light, but like she really was something else. Like
yeah.
she was a different kind of human.
I actually enjoy her as an actress in these movies. I believe her character, for
Yeah,
example,
she's so
like the
good.
way she was natural. I actually believed her. I believed that she was this princess who has to step up and be a badass and be a leader, bring the people together. I think that that's more like her role. Like she makes sure that everybody is together, even though she has sassiness of her with some of the good guys, like in Solo. But for me, I think she's more of a hero than. I mean, I know Han Solo and Luke have their obvious scenes where they are heroes, but she is the one that's consistently the hero. Like if she is involved, it's going to be okay. And Empire Strikes Back, for me, that proves that, especially when she saves Luke at the end. But yeah, I think she's a badass. And growing up, I never saw that character as that. I think the people you see her in the picture with the bikini,
The
which
Oh yeah,
where am I gonna see that? I haven't seen that yet.
Return of the
Um,
Jedi.
okay, good to know. In the picture and the outfits, and I just never. I guess I don't know if I didn't follow it enough. Didn't see her as a badass. And right now, watching the movies, I think she should have got more of that because she deserves it.
Totally, dude. And it's funny because yeah, they painted her almost for someone who didn't see it, like the advertising, it was almost kind of silly, like with the bun hair,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
but no, she was like easily the most dynamic character. I mean, she was this one smart enough to like put this message and send it to this old Jedi that could be dead. Like it's I'm like appreciating her more and more. But as I remember, like when I was a kid, I'm like, when I was little, did I think she was hot? And it was like, yeah, I knew she was beautiful, but she was so intimidating that I wouldn't like allow myself to like
That's good.
fantasize about her because she was so out of my league. It wasn't like
Yeah,
worth the time to fantasize.
great.
Did Obi-Wan die? Yes, he
I'm
did.
confused. Okay, I'm confused because he disappeared.
Right.
He wasn't shoved off. He
Right.
wasn't stroked by the thing. He just
Yep. Yep.
disappeared. And
Yep.
then he keeps appearing. And he's not appearing like in very deep moment. He just appears as needed. Um, I don't know. I am confused. I guess he died then.
So, a few Jedi know how to do this thing called a Force Ghost, where they can become one with the whatever, the in between life and death. They can kind of like shift in the middle and exist. They can't, up until the Last Jedi, they couldn't affect the physical world, but they could like communicate. But something happens in the Last Jedi that Yoda does in ghost form, and I don't know. Have you seen the Last Jedi?
Yes. He
Remember
appears in
Yoda
that
pulls the
temple,
lightning?
or
He
yeah.
pulls lightning out of the sky and sets the tree on fire because he knew Rey already took the books. That's never like happened, like where you can affect the world, like the living world.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah. Okay. So Obi-Wan never actually moves like a chair or something like that. He just
Right.
appears and
He
talks to
could
you.
disappear and like give him advice,
Huh.
and he, remember like in Empire, he's like, yeah, well, I mean, he did kill your dad too, from a certain point of view. He's
But
like,
that's a
no,
part.
he is my dad.
But that's part of the editing that it just frustrates me. That scene, okay, they're fighting, and I'm thinking, okay, here's Obi-Wan
Oh,
and
so
Darth
bad.
Vader, and I'm thinking it's gonna be a great fight. There is a little bit, and all of a sudden, Obi-Wan makes his little smart smile and just disappears.
Right. Because he
I,
knows he's too old, and if he can come to Luke, because as if you rewatch, he says the classic line, "Strike me down, and I will become more powerful than you could possibly imagine." Because now I can teach Luke from the dead, and you're not going to see it coming. So that was
uh,
kind of like their little trick there. He's like, "Go ahead, like I know I'm done. Like the stormtroopers are surrounding me, like I'm fucked. I'm like an old man.
okay,
Go ahead." And plus, he's really
makes more
old.
sense.
He's kind of had it. How many movies have copied Star Wars? I mean, all of them.
What I meant was when the pilots are going in a formation to attack the Death Star, they start calling their code. Red 1, engaged. Red
Blue
5, I don't know,
leader,
whatever they say. Yeah.
gold leader,
So gold leader, whatever.
rogue
They all
two.
calling themselves out with the shot of just them and their helmets and they going. That's Independence Day after the aliens have attacked LA and Will Smith and his team are going to attack them for the first time. And also when they trying to save them, they all go in order and they call out their numbers. If you look at that scene, is the exact same scene, almost the same call outs and everything. Like
Oh,
um,
really? Even the same
yeah.
colors?
Oh, I don't know. I'll have to watch it because when I'm looking, I'm like, that's Independence Day. Of course, this came first, so Independence Day copied that. I'll have to watch it and
I
even this what is it called? The stormtroopers, the fighters, the pilots. Whenever the bad pilots,
yeah,
whenever the
the
bad pilots appear,
tie fighter pilots.
there you go. That type fighter pilots
Tie
appear.
like TIE, twin ion engine. There's a nerd fact for you. TIE fighter pilots. Um,
I'll take your word for it.
and it's speaking of pilot, you didn't know Darth Vader was a great pilot.
No,
They
that
they
was a
beat you
surprise.
over the head with that in the Phantom Menace in the original, not the original, but the in episode 1. All they do is show you how at like 6 years old this kid can like fly shit like
Yeah,
better than
I
adults.
watched that scene
Okay,
and I loved it. I actually
the
a friend of
pod
mine used to have
race.
the game. I have the he had the Nintendo 64 Star Wars game. And it was fun to play that game actually. But okay, you get a point. Anakin Skywalker, what's him in oh wow, no.
And
I
then
really did not
in
know that he was a
in
pilot though.
in Revenge of the Sith, there's shit that he does where Obi-Wan is like, "Stop! What are you doing?" But he's like just manipulating these flying, machines because he's just so natural at it. Like knocking those buzz droids off of Obi-Wan's ship. Anakin just like bumps into the ship like mid-air and like brushes them off,
Wow.
and doesn't destroy anything. But yeah, they kind of harped on that throughout the prequels, onto what is arguably the number one Star Wars movie ever made. It's number one on pretty much everyone's list, not on mine, but that's for totally. I mean, there's a reason, and it's just because of my age. When I was 4, Return of the Jedi came out. So that's the first one I saw. And I didn't even get Empire Strikes Back. You know, like I was a little kid. I'm like, oh, it's actually kind of scary. And there's like a lot of boring parts where he's talking to this green guy in the swamp. Like, I want more Jabba the Hutt. But if you watch it now, you understand. If you saw that movie when you were like a teenager, I mean, there's so many like crisscross storylines, and the whole like big, huge arc from like A New Hope all the way to the end of Empire, where they're loading Han Solo and carbonite onto Boba Fett's ship. It's like, holy shit! Like we lost. It was like the original Endgame, you know, or I mean, Infinity War. The good guys didn't really win. So here we go. Empire Strike Back notes. Your first question. Ben keeps appearing.
You answered
we went over that. Yeah. We went over that. Forced ghost. He can show up pretty much whenever he wants. Obi-Wan said, and there's a lot of references to that in pop culture. They'll say like, oh yeah, he's like Yoda. He just shows up whenever he wants. Or Obi-Wan. Obi-Wan says that Yoda instructed him. I thought it was the guy from Taken, Liam Neeson.
That's why I know him.
Qui-Gon Jinn did train Obi-Wan, but Yoda trained everybody. So it's kind of like, you know, I don't know why. I guess because Yoda was still alive. You know, he's like, you know, go to the guy who used to teach me. Because like he did, but they weren't like BFF. They weren't like Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. He was just one of his teachers. Ew, so Leia kisses Luke.
Hold on, wait. Before we go there. So wait, so you mean that Yoda probably also then trained Anakin, Darth Vader?
Yeah. I mean, like, think of it this way. There had to be a point where all the like Jedi got like an end of the month special class with Yoda, you know, group train, you know, like a yoga class, but it's with Yoda, you know, like where everyone goes and he does crazy shit and teaches you something new, or you know what I mean? It was like he was a Jedi master, so obviously he trained anyone who was under him at some point.
I do know there is a Jedi Academy, and the only reason I know is because my son is reading the books of the Jedi Academy.
I feel like that would be the thing that they should do once they end this Skywalker saga, which I don't know why they're even calling it that, but the next Star Wars movie should just, let's find out all about the Jedi. Like dig in, have like 4 or 5 main characters, all Jedi. And what was it like? Okay, next question. Ew, Leia kisses Luke. I was like talking to Heather before we came on, and I was like just going over your questions and just like not practicing my answers, but like just getting them out of my head. And I was like, it's so funny because everyone thinks that once you find out that they're brother and sister, like, but not right away because they reveal it like so late in Return of the Jedi, or like in the middle.
Well, I know now that they are, like, you know, with the movies I've seen and the things I know that they are. I did not know that they kiss. Right. So,
and are you talking about the scene where Luke is like laying down, he's like recovering?
Yes, and then Han Solo is saying, oh, you know, her and I had a thing in the hangars or something like that. And she's like, well, you know what? You don't know everything, and gives him a kiss. It's a big kiss. That's not a, you know, sisterly brother love. And I know they don't, at the time they did not know what they were, but we know. I knew what they were, so that was disgusting.
But you also, you also know that like she was ultimately really doing that just to make Han Solo jealous. Because he goes, well, yeah, I mean, the saying, it's like kissing your sister. He goes, well, princess, you managed to keep me around for a little while longer. And she's like, oh, I had nothing to do with it. And he's like, oh, well, you should have seen her out there on the 4th hangar. She expressed her true feelings for me.
You can quote the movie. How much of the movie can you quote?
I don't know. I'm just like doing it off the top of my head right now. This is interesting. Leia says, good luck. WTF.
Yes. So here I am, and I am already confused if the Force, it does exist, if they do believe in the Force, if they don't believe in the Force. Some people don't remember, some people do, the Jedi's, blah, blah, blah. And then apparently I thought that in New Hope on episode 4, it was established there is the Force, there is something to it that meant says make the Force with you, other people say it. And then she gives the order to when they're evacuating the base, and tells them that, one transporter is gonna go with 2 fighters and whatever. And then when they all leave, she goes, "Good luck."
Right.
What?
I think at like one time, it was the thing the good guys said to each other: "May the force be with you." Then there's events in the prequels that happen that greatly diminish the amount of Jedi, the people who can use the Force. The numbers of them greatly diminish, and the Empire basically just takes over and like runs the show. Darth Vader and the Emperor just have a stronghold on the galaxy until A New Hope. So it's like just starting back up. Something that has been like dead forever is like slowly. There's only like one guy, and nobody's really even seen him do anything Jedi-like anyway. So it's not like it's overwhelming. Like, yeah, we're all back on the Force again. So Good Luck was just kind of like, yeah, good luck. I think she says it to him like later when like Luke becomes more established.
I was disappointed.
Yeah, no, but it's kind of like reiterating that this is the broken down, tattered ashes of what once was this peaceful ruling class of special people,
okay.
and until what happens in the prequels and the Emperor. All right. So yeah, Good Luck. WTF. Are most monsters okay? We already went over that. R2-D2 gets spinach. God was saying Yoda's acting so mature. I guess he was testing Luke. Yes, Yoda's always been a little silly and goofy, and at this stage he's 900 years old. So, and he lives on a swamp by himself. So, and he is in massive depression because he believes he failed. That's why he's exiled. Yeah.
Okay, I need to watch
Yoda is a crazy old man. He's a crazy old man, but he's the greatest Jedi ever.
But in the first one, the Phantom Menace, the one I watched, I do remember him, and he was serious. I don't remember him I never knew. I thought that he was this wise old man that's always calm and says the thing that is needed. And in this thing, he's fighting against R2-D2 for a piece of meat, and going like a little kid, mine.
No,
What the heck is this?
Yeah, it's almost like an old man who like knows he has to like suck it up one last time, and he's like, oh fuck, they're here. So he's like, I'm gonna like mess with them for a little bit, and then I'll let them know that like I'm Yoda, because he doesn't tell them forever. In the prequels, the two that I recommended you watch, episode 2 and 3, he's awesome. I mean, he's amazing. He might be like the best character in the whole thing because they do him digitally, and he looks so good. Like the digital team did a really good job, and he fights twice with his lightsaber, and it's unbelievable. But that's where you get a lot of Yoda wisdom. But again, in Empire, he's like a kook. He's like kind of half in the bag, like he's nuts.
Like he has the candies in his pockets, and he's the old man that gives you candy from his pockets. That has a lint attached to it. And like, here you go, son. Have some candy.
Yeah, right.
Well,
like I pooped my pants.
That's fun.
I guess he was to say failure at the cave. Oh.
Luke goes. He's a brat, and he goes wherever the fuck he wants to, and he goes to the cave. He sees Vader, chops the head off of Vader. Inside the helmet is him. Again, back to what I believe is poor editing in these movies. They're not good movies. Their story holds, and the characters hold. But when you put it side to side with a good edited movie that doesn't require lightsabers to be cool, it's horrible because this scene is very confusing. And then apparently he failed at something because that's what he says. Yoda says, that's why you fail at the cave. And immediately I was like, what do you mean he failed? What? That was a test? But how did he fail? Because he killed the fake Darth Vader?
No, he didn't fail in the cave. But I know,
that's
I
what
know
Yoda
where.
tells him.
Yes, I know, but not really. He's not referring to that. He's referring to something else. But it's real quick, and you can miss it very quickly. It took me a while to ever notice this line, and that's why when Luke is in Dagobah, if you listen to Yoda once he calms down, almost even when he's crazy, almost every line he gives is like quotable. Like, like you could put it on a t-shirt. He sees that dark, it's like a cave. I mean, it's not really a cave, but it's kind of like where all the trees like are overgrown and there's this like tunnel. And Luke's like, what's over there? And he like gets up and he walks over and Yoda's like, oh, here we go. This is the temptation to the dark side. In metaphorical thing. It's like, come and check out what's going on over here. And Luke's like, it's cold. And he's like, what's in there? And Yoda goes, only what you take with you. And then he starts walking and Yoda says, you won't need your weapons. Because he's like, you're not going to be doing anything, really. I guess it's like when Rey kind of did that in The Last Jedi, where she wasn't doing anything, but she like saw it. And it was like this temptation to the dark side. So he goes in there, and what did he take with him? He took Darth Vader, because it's the only thing on his mind. And he gives into the dark side, and he fucking chops his head off. And, oh, shit, you're going to become Darth Vader if you keep giving into that instinct to just go and attack whatever you're afraid of. But he expresses something like, oh, I don't know if I'm going to do it. Well, then you won't, because you already doubt yourself. Something along those lines.
Hey, that's Henry Ford right there. He's quoting Henry Ford. Either you think you can or you think you can't. You're right.
There you go. Exactly.
That's cool. Okay.
Exactly.
All right. Thank you for explaining that.
Now, final question.
Yes.
Nope. Oh, no. Not the final question. I'm sorry. Yoda says there is another hope.
Yes.
When Luke bails, he's like, fuck, everybody's in trouble. I gotta go. Because Luke's like getting real good now with the meditation, and he's like shooting his mind all over the place. And it's like there's like this static kind of small connection to Leia.
Luke says he has to go. Yoda says to the voice of Obi-Wan, I told you. And Obi-Wan says, well, he's our only hope.
That boy was the last hope.
It was the last hope. Yoda said,
No.
That's a very good impression. I mean,
No.
There's another. Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
So what was that? What's the other? Leia?
Yeah. Leia.
Oh.
And I mean, and then like in 5 minutes, or no, I guess like in a half hour, Leia comes and saves Luke.
Because Leia and him are Darth Vader's kids, he's the baby daddy. Are they? Is Leia also because I know in the new movies, The Last Jedi, she comes back inside the thing by moving her fingers and going in it. But why does it seem like there's such a gap of force level in it? Like,
because she's a girl.
Luke.
Girls.
Really?
I mean, well, yes and no. It was probably just because of the time that she was born, because the female and all Jedi were being snuffed away. So they weren't like, all right, let's make her a Jedi, and look at how Luke became a Jedi. It was like such a random, mishmash of circumstance. So if you're not training, you're not going to be like sensitive. And this goes to like The Last Jedi, and Luke is the most powerful Jedi ever, and he can just jump into whoever he needs that can help him the most. He can he can do things that no other Jedi can do, like he does in The Last Jedi.
But in The Last Jedi, when she proves that she has force things because she moves her fingers, and she doesn't die in that explosion.
Right.
Which she should, by the way. We're in space, and her brain should have exploded. That's another thing. And
Right.
then she goes there. So
I think about it every time. I'm like, wait a minute, that's not what happens.
Oh, believe me,
vacuum
it is
up there.
difficult. It's difficult to watch it and put away the things that I think they make logic.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah, you got to suspend.
I did it with an open
Suspend a lot of
mind.
reality. So here's the deal. Ready? Jedi were seen as, well, especially when she was born, it wasn't like a thing anymore, and she became like this, general. Like she was like a war, like a rebellion leader. She didn't have time to go discover her force abilities, but like it's there. Yoda has the highest midichlorian count. His species has the highest midichlorian count. There's only one person with more midichlorians, and that's Darth Vader or Anakin Skywalker. So Luke and Leia must just be loaded. And like, desperation, she was just like, oh.
What's midichlorian?
Okay. This is another weird thing about the prequels and something amongst the fans where they're like divided. It's like the Ewoks. It's like you either think it's cool or you're like, it's George Lucas's explanation for the Force. So if you have a high midichlorian count, that means that you're like super Force sensitive. Let's start training this kid to be a Jedi today. That's why like Yoda's species, and that's why Baby Yoda, who's had like no training at all, not that we know of, uses the Force to hold that monster, that mud horn up in the air. So the midichlorians, they go over that in the Phantom Menace. Another thing that you'll miss, but it's a weird. It was like, why did you have to explain it? But for me right now, I'm like, well, I like the idea of something that you have internally that you pass on.
Yeah.
And then anyone can really be born with it. It's like having, I don't know, excellent hearing, or vice versa, or being born deaf. It's just like you're born with a higher level of something else that everyone else is.
Mine is having a jaw. Like my family doesn't have jaws. Look, it's just one piece of space.
I'm like a Pez dispenser.
Then you have the guys that are born with that jaw when they're little kids. They look like Johnny Bravo from the beginning.
They all look like Superman, like Henry Cavill.
So you're telling me, okay, I watched episode 4, episode 5. Now I need to go back and watch episode 2 and episode 3.
Yes.
And then what after that?
Oh, and then again, you can watch Rogue One because that technically happens after episode 3.
Okay.
And then regular order, Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and you've seen them in like the last couple of years. Yeah. So if you want to, you can, just to complete the whole thing here, and build up towards the Rise of Skywalker, because you obviously have to go see that now.
Okay, how much of the other things should I watch? Because I feel overwhelmed by it. Like, I know there's the Clone Wars cartoons.
I've watched it, but you don't need it.
Okay, so if I just watch those 2 and Rogue One, which I watched already, but just for the fun of it again, I'll be fine.
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. All you have to really do is watch the 8 Star Wars movies.
Yeah.
That's it. You don't even need Rogue One, but you can. But you don't need to. Oh, well, no. And minus Phantom Menace. You don't waste your time. It's so long. The special effects are so bad compared to now. Like, you can look at it and you're like, dude, Lucas did this in like a weekend. Like, really, a lot of shortcuts. Yeah.
Okay. Hey, I really do appreciate.
Hey, wait. Final question. Final question. Oh, wait. No, we kind of already covered. Did Luke sense Leia after his arm was cut off? Right. Yeah. Yeah. Nothing to do with his arm, though.
No. Okay. It was not after. I just made like on the scene, that scene to put it.
Yeah.
It just failed to me that he could have had all the options to sense, and then he sensed her. And then she sends him back too. So that's what I was wondering.
Right.
Like you did a great job explaining it.
He was just like, who do I trust the most?
So listen,
not Solo saved my life twice.
I'll be okay if I never have to watch episode 4 again. Episode 5 was cool. I don't know. I'm disappointed.
6 is my favorite.
So when am I gonna watch that one?
You watch that after episode 3.
2, 3, episode 6. 2, 3, 6. Okay, I'll do that.
All right, man. Well, thank you so much, Cornelia, for joining me here, joining us. This is our first show. We will join you guys back, as you just heard, after Cornelia watches episode 2, Star Wars Attack of the Clones, and episode 3, Star Wars Revenge of the Sith. And make sure to subscribe and tell your friends and like and leave a comment. And if you are new to the Star Wars world, let us know where you are trying to catch up to get ready for The Rise of Skywalker that opens now in less than 2 weeks. Holy poop. I am going to see it on the 18th, I think, which is a Thursday. It opens worldwide on the 19th. And we'll see you next week. I gotta go.